Welcome to Bogside Chats. We're talking everything DFK Fight Club tonight and keeping it casual. I'm joined here by Guykid and a very special guest, Bob Nothing, Fight Club veteran. Guy, how you doing?
Doing well, doing well. You get to do that 2 days in a row. How does
Yeah, I
that
know.
make you
I'm
feel?
getting used to the hosting thing now. It's quite empowering. Bob, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, doing good, bud.
Great. Thank you for being here. Yeah, we're excited. We're gonna kind of hop right into it here. The goal of this video tonight is to act as a tutorial for joining Fight Club. You know, where to find it, how to get set up, but then to kind of roll into some more conversational strategy. You know, things around the formulas and how the game is actually played, right? So, Guy, you have something up on your screen right now. How do we find DFK Fight Club?
Yep. So if you go to the castle in the main DFK game and you hop over to the jester, and not the soldier right behind the jester.
Technical difficulties already.
Yeah. But if you go to the view builder games, you can go to the play now under DFK Fight Club. And that will pull you directly into the main Fight Club Discord. You can also hop into Fight Club directly through the main DFK Discord as well. There's a light version of Fight Club through that as well.
Yeah, and you can still do everything through there as far as you know, kind of the play here tab that everything is run out of. But you won't have all the kind of extra channels and the different discussion topics that, you know, that we see in the real DFK Discord. So, but for the purposes of this tutorial, we're going to do everything out of the original Fight Club Discord. Okay. So yeah, so first off, you know, we're going to scroll to the play here button on the sidebar, the play here channel. And the first thing that we need to do, right, is to verify our wallet. So what we're going to do is click the button verify. And because Guy already has some wallets submitted in there, it's going to, you know, it's going to show those. But if you see right above those green and red buttons, it says if you want to register another address, deposit again to this address. And that's your Fight Club wallet address. What we're going to do, so DFK Fight Club does not, I want to be clear on this, does not connect to your MetaMask in any way. You're not signing any transactions or anything like that. So to avoid that kind of, you know, setup, we need to find a way to prove that your wallet that you're trying to use is actually yours. So the way that we do that is you send a small Jewel transaction on Crystal Veil to this address that's shown there. Now this amount could be, you know, 0.1 Jewel, 0.001 Jewel, 0.0001, small amount just to show that, hey, I actually own this wallet. You could then do that with up to 5 wallets. So, you know, because we know a lot of us in the community are using different accounts. Once you do that, you hit the verify button again if it's your first time, or that scan for more wallets button. It will do so, and you'll see it pop up that, hey, these wallets are good to go and you can use them. Anything to add there, guys? Is that...
Yeah, quick aside, I see a lot of questions about this. Yeah, so you do have control of that wallet. It generates it for you in the Discord. I know he has some security measures so that the keys aren't necessarily easily compromised, but treat it as a very hot wallet.
Yes.
So do not send heroes to it. Do not be like, oh yeah, now this is my DFK wallet. I'll move my gardens. Don't do that.
Yeah.
If you accidentally send something to it, it is retrievable. You can get the private keys and you can import it in your MetaMask like you would from a second seed phrase. But you don't need to do any of that. You can use balance and just send one way to do everything that you would need to do.
Yeah.
I hear those questions get asked a lot.
No, that's a really good point. The term "very hot wallet" is, I think, accurate. You're gonna want to send to this. You're gonna want to send a little gas. So that first transaction, you can even make it, you know, 5 Joule if you want. You'll be set for gas for a long time with that amount. But you're gonna want to send what you're going to be using, right? If you need a little crystal for something, send it quick. I save this to my address book in my main wallet so that I can send things to it quickly, whether it be potions for dungeons that we'll get into later, or, you know, just anything. But yeah, you're not going to want to put anything of value or anything of size there.
But yeah, just getting started, you don't need anything except to verify.
Mm-hmm.
So since we're focusing on that, you don't need to do anything. But for advanced Fight Club play, you can send quite a few things.
Yeah, and Guy just demonstrated on screen, if you do the Discord command /balance, it pulls up what you have in your wallet now. So it looks like Guy has 2 jewel, 53 crystal, and some Fight Club items that, again, we'll talk about a little bit later. Okay, so we're verified. Next step is going to be to choose our team. So we're going to go back to the Play Here tab, and we're going to, instead of clicking Verify this time, we're going to hit Play. It's going to open up a private playroom for you. So this is for a lot of the PvE aspects will take place in your private playroom. So you see the options here. We have view heroes, view team, select loadout, on and on. For right now, we're going to be doing select team. And this is going to pull up each ID that you have listed in your wallet. It's going to be a few pages, probably. There are arrow keys to sort through them. And you're going to have to pick this team in the order that you want them to arrive in the arena. So that would be front line, mid line, back line. This is a 3v3 game. It is a lot of IDs. Recently, Konix, the creator of Fight Club, added in this nice little filter so you can filter by level. Makes it a little bit easier to sort through all those IDs. But you are also going to probably want to have a kind of a different site, a helper site up that lists out your heroes. Bob, do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, there are a lot of great third-party apps that we all probably use. So yeah, this is a setup I've used for a long time for Fight Club. It's the DFK helper site. You can see up there next to where it says Fight Club. So Fight Club is this set of tabs that I set up just for Fight Club with relevant information. Because it'll start off by telling you how many summons you have left, what generation it is, all that stuff, which you don't care about for Fight Club. So I just went through and cherry picked this. It'll show the stones that I have used for each. It'll show the total stats for each. And so this is filtered level 8 to 9, and this is with 8 of my wallets at the same time as well.
Whew.
So you can add all the wallets that you own, and basically look at those pools, and then you also have access to those multiple wallets within Fight Club. So this is a good way to see between all my wallets who has the most stats. Spoiler alert, it's a Dread Knight for this. It also shows the element. Ice is very good. It also shows my total HP, which is a very relevant thing for Fight Club, because if you just look by stats, you won't know if, like that monk down there has a lot of stats, but he hasn't hit a lot of large HP bumps. So he's just lacking. So he's not very good. And then also they showed these icons and skills were added. Just, it's not really that useful for an advanced Fight Club player because we already know what a Dark Knight skills are. But if you're just getting used to it, it can show you pretty easily what to expect with the certain heroes. So I like to use this. It's a really useful tool. You can also use analytics. You can use ADFK to list your wallets. But I found the filters, and it remembers that filter. I set it to Fight Club, so I can set it to something else for shopping as well, or looking at summoning pairs. So that's the best I've found, and I just shout out to Quester. That's a really good app to get used to, anyways, for bridging and transferring heroes. And then so in this example, I'm looking at level 8 and 9. So if I want to kind of fill a role of a frontliner of a middleweight team or whatever, this is probably what I would search.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's a good segue if we want to jump into the weight classes right now. I didn't mean to cut you off though.
No,
if you had more.
That's okay. The second picture is basically how I would look between 3 of these heroes, is using the ADFK Fight Club. So this shows you exactly how those heroes' stats translate to Fight Club. And that's just a good visual, because you can see that monk, even though he has a lot of stats, is just not that good at Fight Club.
Yeah, and
So,
we'll link all these below in the description as well.
But yeah, in terms of weight classes, there's a command for that. I think we're going to be focused on light heavyweight, but there's 5 different weight classes. We just had a bunch of tournaments with the Babyweights, which is very popular. And you can read the information there. I kind of go ahead, Franz.
Yeah, no, and Bob, you're a good person to be talking about weight classes because Bob Nothing was the person who created these and kind of had this idea. Because when Fight Club first started, it was kind of a free for all, right? You take in your biggest, strongest heroes, go up against someone else's, but that doesn't always lend itself to very competitive play. So this was kind of drawn up as a way to put restrictions around teams and add kind of a sense of strategy with the team building. So you mentioned Babyweight, all level 1s, very, very basic, lightweight, the max hero of level 4 with a combined team of level 8, right? So that, we see a lot of level 4, level 3, level 1, level 4, level 2, so on and so forth. But you're right, Bob. We do want to focus on light heavyweight because light heavyweight is also our dungeon weight. It's the weight class that the dungeons use, and it's the one that is closest to where all of our top heroes are around the community, right? It's a max hero level of 14 with a combined team level of 28. So your max hero, your top hero, can be level 14, but you can't have 2 level 14s. A level 14, a level 13, a level 1 is possible. But, we'll get into all the strategy talk later as far as putting these teams together.
Yeah, so basically the idea is in heavyweight, you just play your best 3 heroes, whereas in light heavyweight, you can play a really good hero if you got it, but it costs you something in terms of your team. Because in order to play a level 14 and a level 10, let's say, you really have to, it costs you something because you only have 4 levels left for your 3rd slot. So
Right.
It's about balance in that sense.
Right. Yeah, and so at this point we've talked a lot about the setup, right? And I think we've kind of covered everything you need to know before you hop into a game. But nobody's here just to learn how to set things up. Let's talk about the actual gameplay now, right? So I mentioned it's a 3-on-3 match. It's turn-based. You have 1 turn per per your 3 heroes, right? It's not each hero gets a turn. It's 1 turn on your side. Guy, do you want to go to combat mechanics tab there?
Sure.
And I should mention what Guy has up on the screen right now. Newly created Fight Club docs. So these are still under construction. There are still some a lot of things that need to be added, but this is going to be kind of the hub that we're going to use going forward for all Fight Club information. But yeah, combat mechanics. So this graphic here goes through the turn itself. You have different options such as a fierce attack, which is your pretty standard attack, right? You can swap, you can use a skill, or you can interrupt a skill if you think that your enemy is going to use one. Anything to add there, guys?
Yeah, I mean, there's an inherent kind of rock, paper, scissors aspect to this, which he kind of deals with down below. And it's not perfectly balanced because if they're trying to interrupt you and you fierce attack, that is an advantage for you, but it's not, the end all be all, whereas the skills can actually really decide a game. But yeah, I would just say the easiest way to learn this stuff is just to pick 3 heroes and battle for free.
Yeah.
Because there is that mode.
Definitely. So yeah, I feel like maybe we should jump right to the formulas to kind of determine, how your stats play a role, because the key thing here, you are using your heroes, you are using your NFTs. While there are inherent skills that each class has, the stats on the back of your card do matter. So the health being the simplest of the formulas here, it's your DFK health, the actual health on the card, plus your endurance. There is no block mechanic, so that endurance gets added to your health there for a little boost. The damage formula, a little bit more involved. It is your strength stat plus your dexterity stat plus half of your intelligence and half of your luck. So the dexterity being added in there so that some of your more speed heroes can still, hit hard enough to make a difference, right? Intelligence, same thing with that. If you have, your casters and things that don't have high strength or dexterity, they should hit a little less hard, but there still should be something there, right? So that intelligence is in there for that, and a little addition of luck as well. The speed formula, which is agility plus dexterity plus half of your luck. And I think, I'll just say charge real quick, but that's what I want to focus on is speed. Charge is your intelligence plus your wisdom. Your charge we'll touch back on in a second because that's how the skills are kind of used. But the thing to note here is that if you look at the damage and the speed formulas, they both have take full use of your dexterity. So that leads to a scenario where dexterity is the most important stat in Fight Club. And it makes heroes like archers, very good. That's, I'm cherry picking the one class there, but it's high dexterity heroes do have an advantage in that sense. Guys, anything to add?
Yeah, for the brand new, they might want an overview of how exactly these stats are used. So everybody obviously has a starting health. That's pretty easy. Damage only matters for the frontline hero, and it matters at the end of every turn. Both teams get an auto attack, is where damage matters, and it also matters if you choose to do a fierce attack. Otherwise, your midline and backline, their damage don't matter. Speed matters for skills and for auto attacks, and then fierce is a little bit different now, and then charge only matters for the front line. So
Right.
once you get to playing, having your midline with a big charge doesn't do anything. Having your backline with big speed doesn't do anything at that point in the game, but it will later. So that's a good strategy thing. And then damage only matters for frontline.
Right. So yeah, so it is a very frontline centric game. The midline can still use their skills. The backline is that kind of reserve spot. So, when you look at all these formulas, something that, and this is more of an opinion type thing on my part, but heroes that I like in the front line are your Dark Knights and your Paladins, because while they are tanky heroes and they're going to be able to take a punch, they also do have, the Paladin with their high wisdom, the Dark Knight with their high intelligence. You are still building a little bit of a charge because, as Bob said, that charge is only built from that frontline hero. Whereas, a warrior in the front line could be just as thick as those other heroes, but it's very dumb, so to speak, not really high intelligence or wisdom.
Yeah, bingo. I've got a Perilous Journey warrior, so his stats are really good, and I boosted his dexterity, so he hits really hard. Problem is, I get outcharged 2-1 versus pretty much anyone on the other side from a similar level perspective. So I really get behind in the ability game when I have my warrior in the front line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anything else on this page, or do we want to jump into a few of the skills, kind of cherry pick a few, just give an example, and then, I think maybe we hop right into a game because this stuff makes a little bit more sense when you see it played out.
Sure. And then the meter, of course, goes right into these skills.
Yep.
Right. So yeah, we'll pick a few that have a meter and talk about it then. So I guess the warrior just kind of start at the top. So the important thing to know about skills, and if you want to click a few of them open just so the audience can see. Thing about these skills, so each class has their class's skills. Your frontline hero, whoever's in the front line at a given time, also has access to one of your subclasses skills. So if I have a warrior with a thief subclass, that top skill there, that backstab, I'm also going to have access to it when my warrior is in the front line. When it switches out of the front line, whoever switches into the front line, they're going to have access to their skill, right? There are a few classes right now that have a third skill, and that is for pure classes. So a thief with a thief subclass is going to have access to that acid spray, where a thief with any other subclass would not. So that's a little bit more advanced. You'll see that as you play, and you'll see what your heroes have and what you can kind of do best. But you'll notice that some of these skills, like Cleave for the warrior, the top one up there, deals 70 damage to front and midline enemies. That's pretty powerful, right? But then you see it does have meter 1 on there. So we talked a little bit about charge and the idea of building charge based on your intelligence and your wisdom. Once you get to a certain point, you'll have 1 full meter of charge. And then, you'll keep gaining past there. You could have 2 meter, 3 meter, however many. But to use this cleave skill, you're going to have to expend 1 meter.
Yep, and to give people an idea of what you can expect for charge, you can see these heroes that Bob talked about earlier. The monk has a charge of 34, where the warrior has a charge of 26. So you're talking about 3 to 4 turns to get to that full meter, which is a meter is 100 charge. So you're talking 3 or 4 turns in your combat of building up that meter. You'll also see there are some abilities that require more than 1 meter too, because they are extremely powerful. So the monk has access to immolation. The wizard has a move called Meteor that it does 100 damage to all enemies, and it requires a 2 meter, so 200 charge rather than 100 charge. So it'll take a while to get there, but the trade-off is it's a much more powerful ability.
Yeah, and I think what makes Fight Club interesting is the mind games that develop, right? If you're playing against a team that has a wizard and they have that 2 meter built, that's a game-changing type of move. We mentioned before the interrupt function or mechanic, right? I can choose to interrupt that wizard if I think he's going to use a skill. If I see that 2 meter on there, I might be paying very close attention and interrupting that wizard often. My opponent might be going and doing other skills on their other heroes, fierce attacking, doing other things, kind of baiting me in with the idea of that meteor going off. So it does get very interesting back and forth.
Yep, and let's for new players, you'll probably be starting off playing against the AI, which is a lot different than playing against another player, because the mind games that happen in tournaments are a lot different than the AI is just gonna. It depends. If you're in a dungeon, they will never interrupt you. If you're in the Coliseum, it depends on your ranking. So it's complicated. You just get used to how the AI plays, and it's a lot different than the player, because like I was saying before with the rock, paper, scissors aspect of it, the interrupt is the big counter to these skills. This is not like like a Final Fantasy game where you just choose what you do and that's what you do, and there's not really a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of back and forth in this, because some of the games are just kind of lost on the spot based on these skills either going off or not going off, and that's where you got to think what your opponent's going to think and what they think you're going to think.
Yeah.
What they think they're going to think.
They think big game of cat and mouse. So yeah, it's interesting. And, you mentioned different modes. Guy, maybe we should hop right into, would you pull up an AI battle quick?
Yeah, sure.
So if we go back into the Discord, everything that we're doing is going to be out of that play here, Playroom, right, that we talked about before. So it does time out sometimes if you haven't used it. So you go back to play here and click that play button again. It'll open you up a fresh Playroom.
And this is the Fight Club Fights button or room in the DFK Discord if you're just using that.
Yeah. So Guy, what did you click just now to get to the screen?
So I went to play here. I opened up my Playroom, and then I hit
Battle AI.
Battle AI right here. Yep.
Great.
And so what that did is it pulled up my previously loaded team, where I've got a light heavyweight team, which if you remember is a cap of level 28 across my 3 heroes. So that's the last hero team that I selected. So it automatically pulls up that last that last team, and then you can it'll confirm what weight class you're in, and then you can click the OK button to get paired with an AI team. Anything else I need to explain on before I go and battle?
No, I think you can hop into it, and we'll kind of talk, through it. Just go slow in the beginning, but actually, this page kind of leads into what I was going to say anyway. These AI battles, they are not free, but they do have a pretty nice reward to them, right? So a lot of you know from playing duels that you can win raffle tickets. You can use those in the raffler. You can win stones and crystals and stamina potions, all different kind of goodies. DFK Fight Klub is the first third-party game that also uses this raffle ticket system. So guy's going to play a free game right here, which is an option, but you can win raffle tickets by playing these matches. So you can also load in your AIs to be played by other people, and when they face someone else, you'll get a little raffle ticket bonus just for having them compete. So Guy, what'd you do on this first turn here?
So this first turn, I got paired up. The opposing team has a warrior, a knight, and a pirate. Similar levels to what I'm matched up with. And so I just started with just doing a fierce attack. Just to start basic.
So I would say turn 0 is to look at that initial loadout right here. And you can see based on this, all the skills that are available to you and all the skills that are available to your opponent. It's a good habit to get into analyzing based on that. So right now, Guy can use a fireball. Since his warrior is in the front, it can use its subclass wizard. Its mid can use curse. It cannot use 4C because 4C requires a meter. And it cannot use, if it had a subclass that was different than Seer, it couldn't use it. And then it can't use any of the ninja skills. So that's the way I like to think about it on turn 0. What am I threatening? What is my opponent threatening? And move from there. And it takes a while, but playing for free against the AI with 3 heroes that you selected is just the best way to learn what you can and can't do and what happens when you choose various stuff.
Yeah, so it looks like on this first turn, the AI used a skill that wasn't very good there. It's a skill that needs you to have some lost health, but when you're on the lower ranks of the AI, you're going to see that they're going to do some funny stuff that might not be in their best interest, right? So guy gets a free shot in there, but you'll notice that even though he did a skill of the AI, he still did attack. You do attack every turn. Their choice that you're making is, do you want to do a skill in addition to the attack? Do you want to interrupt in addition to the attack? Or do you want to boost that attack itself with a fierce attack, which does more damage and adds speed to your actual attack?
Yeah, so Guy only attacked once there, whereas his opponent used a skill and then attacked because he chose fierce attack. If Guy had chosen to use a skill, like his Seer in the midline, he would have used that skill and then basic attacked at the end. But since he used fierce, that overwrites your basic attack, basically. It makes it a lot faster and a lot more damage.
Right. My warrior hit for 138 versus the opposing warrior hit for 47. Part of that is my warrior stats, and part of it is the fact I used a fierce attack.
Right. So now turn 2.
Let's use a skill here. Well, let's not use a skill because I can't send
curse last turn
2.
Yeah, it looks like we skipped
he
turn
shield
2.
slammed you.
Okay.
Yeah, I got shield slammed, so my Seer actually got silenced, so I'm not able to use curse.
Yeah.
So
you can
shield
swap
slam.
if you want to.
I could swap, or
That's a thing we haven't talked about.
yeah, I'll throw an interrupt out to see if the AI is going to use a skill.
Oh, and you guessed right.
Yep. And so you'll notice too, if you get a successful interrupt off, one of the other benefits to it is you get a full meter for getting that interrupt off. And then if your opponent ends up using a skill that costs meter too, they're still going to lose that meter on their side as well.
Yeah, so it could be a pretty big swing. And when we're talking about the meter, that's the bar on the bottom there. You see it fills up pretty quickly. The more you play the game, the more that bar seems to make sense, right? But the other thing to note, there is a lot of writing above this video that you can click to unhide, and that tells you exactly what went down. What, you did 48 damage, you took them from 244 to 196. It's exact, so you always kind of see the way things go down.
There's also that I button, if you scroll down a little bit to the right, where you can see the current status of, it's a little hard to read sometimes, but it'll tell you everybody's speed and current hit points. Unfortunately, it doesn't tell you their damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you can also forfeit if you're
salty,
if you're in that kind
not,
of
not
in that
feeling
kind of
great
mood.
about the state of things.
Yeah.
So when the knight used a shield slam, my seer got pulled up to the front. So the move I'm going to do this turn is I'm actually going to retreat my seer and swap him with my ninja who's in the background.
Okay, so you're going to put him back in reserve, bring the ninja to the front, and now you'll notice the ninja will still attack, as we talked about, but that's all he's going to be able to do. So we got a heal on the warrior's side, and you're probably thinking, how's a warrior healing? It's a warrior with a priest sub. So that priest subclass, because he's in the front line, he has access to it, so he heals up a little bit.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do this turn, guy?
This turn, let's actually throw a cannon barrage out to bring my warrior back up front.
So what does cannon barrage do, and what position do you use with it?
Yep. So my ninja is a pirate subclass. So due to that, my ninja is able to use his subclass move because he's in the front. And so what Cannon Barrage does is it does 50 damage, but in addition to that, it's a free swap for my hero. And we're laughing here because the strategy I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bring my warrior back out front because my warrior hits for a lot of damage. But what happened on the other end is the knight on the other end used a shield slam. So once my ninja got pulled to the midline, he immediately got pulled back up front.
Yeah, and so what we kind of glossed over what shield slam does. It switches your opponent's front and midline, and then silences the new frontline hero. And with these moves, I know it might sound like we're saying a lot right now. The more you play, it comes very easily. In any RPG game, there are a lot of moves, but you figure them out as you use them.
And like I was saying before, speed comes into play twice, like on that turn. The ninja went before the knight with his skill, and then the knight went because he's slower. And then it went between the ninja went again because he's faster for the basic attack. So it matters for skill and basic attack. So it comes into play twice. Speed is extremely important, especially when we get to the end.
Yeah, especially as you're progressing throughout the game and your heroes start getting lower on health, and whoever's going to attack first with a skill could have more impact on what happens that turn.
Yeah. Great. So it looks like the AI swapped here, and it doesn't matter because, well, I shouldn't say it doesn't matter, but Guy comes in with that cleave ability we talked about before that damages both the front line and the midline 70 damage. So he used a little bit of that meter. You'll see it goes down to from 2.5 to 1.5 there. Does some damage on each of the heroes.
So this is a time when Guy might want to check and see exactly how many hit points that warrior has, because you have in your midline a ninja.
Right.
87.
And so their midline has 87. Go ahead.
So yeah, I was this is where it's important to know exactly, because Guy has an ability where if it had 40 or less hit points, you could kill it and you have a huge boost on your ninja. But you can't really tell by the bar. You need that info kind of thing to work.
And that's the vendetta skill. The enemy with the least HP is pulled to the front, then you're dealing 40 damage to it, and if you kill the enemy, you're getting a boost of 40 damage on your ninja for the rest of the game. So it's a very specific kind of use case there, but if you can pull it off and you can get that boost, it could be a game changer going forward.
But also, if you had something like another cleave, you could know that he has 80 something hit points instead of 70, which it actually makes a big difference. So getting used to reading that is important once they get to certain health thresholds.
Yeah, I would say this isn't a button masher game. You're going to want to be calculated with all your moves and be aware of kind of your surroundings on the battlefield.
Definitely.
So Guy just used, so we had two skills there. Guy did a miasma bomb, which is going to poison that knight at the end of the turn and at the end of the next 3 turns, I believe. And then on the way back, the midline warrior for the AI team used a cleave, dealt some big damage to Guy.
Yep. And so poison, how that works is every time the poison hero takes damage, he takes 10 additional damage. So it's a damage over time effect that the more poison stacks you end up on that hero, the more increased amounts of damage that'll be.
And just to add a little color for some of our more, veteran players that might be watching, or new people, the thief recently was reworked and has 2 very good poison moves now. I played against one the other day and it was very tricky. I'm going to be using a lot more thief in my midline going forward.
Yeah, I would say miasma is probably the most complicated skill in the game. It's just very nuanced how it works, but it is quite powerful. How poison stacks.
Guy is throwing all the most complex things at us. He can't just do basic moves. He has to make it complicated for us.
Yeah, my big warrior hits hard.
Okay, there you go.
You know what to do now, Guy.
Exactly. So we're spent some time talking through that vendetta, and the strategy I'm trying to figure out is, hey, how do I get a little more damage attack to that midline player? So what I did here is I cleaved, hoping that the AI wouldn't interrupt. And now that cleave got off successfully, you'll see that midline hero is now under that 40 damage threshold, which is setting up nicely for my vendetta. If I was going up against a player here, I'd be pretty nervous that an interrupt would be coming. But since I'm going up against the AI, I'm not as concerned about it.
Yeah, when you're playing against real players, that's the mind game. I mean, they know what vendetta is too. They know what cleave is. They know that when you have 1 meter, they need to be watching out for your moves. So you have to be a little bit more coy about what you're doing. Against the AI, you can kind of just go for it. So he pulls him to the front line. There was a switch in there. It doesn't matter because it's always pulling the lowest health.
So there, Guy's thief. Yeah, Guy's ninja got plus 40 damage, and all these buffs last until the end of the fight. Because there are multiple ways to buff yourself, and at the high weight classes, it's very, very good strategy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think maybe once this fight is drawing closer to a close, maybe we go through some of our favorite metas and strategies, because you mentioned the buff meta. That's one that's very popular right now. I see AP in the crowd. He employs it early and often, where you have the pirate has a move called Plunder, where they can boost either, it's a coin flip, either their speed or their damage. And if you use that, enough times throughout a match, you can get a pretty fast, pretty beefy pirate together. And the Berserker has a move that buffs the attack of your front line. So if you keep that Berserker in the midline, you can be buffing that same pirate. And, as the turns go by, as you get more and more successful with it, you end up with a very strong pirate. So that's one that's very popular right now as far as metas go.
Yeah. So I just fierce attack with my ninja, knowing that there's a chance he ends up dying here. But he did 155 damage through his fierce attack and all of his buffs. So it's a good trade-off for me. And now my warrior's up front. That should be able to do some damage.
So you're going to use a curse? Go for it, Bob.
Yeah, along those lines, I was going to throw my Babyweight and my light heavyweight teams up in Fine Fights, if you want to look at those next, just to kind of see the difference, because they're constructed very differently. And kind of just talk about the difference real quick. I know maybe that's not.
Yeah, no. I think that's good. Where did you put them?
Hang on. I'll put them up here in 1 second.
Okay. Yeah, as Guy finishes this AI off, still has that very high health warrior in the back line. So even if this seer goes down, shouldn't really have any problems. The seer is silenced right now, so that's why he only had options for warrior moves there.
Oh, oops. I just did a dummy move.
You're supposed to be an expert at this. We
I
are
know,
giving a tutorial.
right? Yeah. All good.
Just fierce tech.
Okay. So
Okay,
I put him in find fights for the Fight Club Discord.
All right, looks like one more turn here for Guy to finish it out, and then we'll head over there and take a look, and you can kind of walk us through what your strategy was with the team composition here.
Yeah, because they are very different. So
There
we
you go.
had.
And, well, wait. So before you go into that, Guy did a free fight. If he had done a raffle ticket fight, you would see text populate there saying the. So first off, the way your rating has changed. He won, so his rating would go up. Then it would say distributing, X number of raffle tickets depending on how many crystal he put up, and it would show you the AVAX scan, DFK chain block explorer transaction, so that you can actually see it for yourself. So everything's very transparent with that stuff, and it does send the raffle tickets to your actual wallet that you verified, not to this Fight Club wallet. So you're going to get them along with all your duels raffles as well. Go for it. Sorry.
And don't send anything on Sarandale with Fight Club at this point. Everything is on Crystal Vale. Yep.
Yeah. It's on DFK chain as far as everything that we do. Great. So, Guy, you want to head to find fights?
Okay, so the top one is the Babyweight Team. We had a little inaugural event. This is the team that I got first and second with. It's pretty good. But yeah, basically for the low weight classes, you want to be able to threaten as much stuff as possible because it's really just a race. Like interrupts matter a lot for unlocking stuff. Fierce attacks can matter the last couple turns or to play mind games, but mostly you want to have a lot of access to skills and you want to have a lot of access to raw stats. So this team is not very high rarity. You can see I'm uncommon, common, but that Dragoon and the Warrior both have Dex Stones, which is extremely important in the low levels. So basically, for strategy-wise, you want to have your highest hit point your highest hit point hero up front, which is my Dragoon, which is why Dragoons are really good in all classes, is because they basically have no weaknesses. They have a ton of hit points, ton of damage, ton of speed, and there's no payoff. Whereas the lower rarity classes or level classes, you kind of have to, pay something. You just kind of get it all with a Dragoon. But this Dragoon has an archer subclass, so I can threaten aim shot from the front, and I can use the spellbow ability Ice Blast or Searing Arrow from the middle. So that's basically about as threatening as you can get in Babyweight. And then the Warrior is acting as a reserve. Basically, he doesn't have a very good subclass, but he's got really good, I think he's got Earth Element or Ice Element, and he's got a regular Dex Stone. So this Warrior is just going to come in. These two, the two up front are going to battle around, try to do as well as they can, and then the Warrior is going to come in where I very likely have a meter and threaten cleave and just mop up. So that's the strategy there, is to just blitz and do not literally blitz, but like just do as much damage as you can with your skills and play the mental game.
Yeah, and it's also important to note that from your front and mid lines, 4 out of the 5 skills require no meter.
Exactly.
So we want to be fast paced here. We don't want to be waiting around for one super shot, because in a Babyweight setting, in a level 1 setting, you don't have the health to hang around. You got to act now and kind of stick and move, right?
Yeah, most of these matches are done in 6 or 7 turns.
Right.
Very quickly.
So now go to your light heavyweight, and we'll see how that kind of changes things.
A much different construction. Dragoons are still good. This aim shot is actually quite bad though. on this weight class, because it does 70 damage to the midline, which is great for baby weights when their midline has 140 hit points, but when it has 500, it doesn't really matter. So I basically don't have a good subclass at all, but he's got good stats, and Blitz gets very, very good in light heavyweight. So does Skewer.
Yeah. What does Blitz do? Do you want to run through that quick?
Sure. Or can you pull up the skills? Yeah, that's easier. So these are the two specific skills that I want, along with all the hit points and stats in light heavyweight. Blitz can basically screw up your opponent's formation by bringing their midline to their front line. You'll see in my team as well, but not as drastically as most light heavyweight teams. My midline is a level 7, whereas I have a level 11 up front and a level 10 in the back. So I don't really want to get blitzed either. So that's why it's really good, because I want to have that Dragoon up front. And Skewer is a great source of meter. If you can get one of their big boys on Skewer, that can be just a game changer.
Yeah. When you're talking about heroes that have 500, 600 health, and you get an ability that can deal 50% of their current HP, that's a move that can do 200, 300 damage in one move.
And then also, if you pull up Berserker, that is my midline. So like I said, my Berserker is lower level because I don't really want him to be in the front. Ideally, my Dragoon would probably be like level 12 or level 13, and my Warrior would gain a couple levels, and my Berserker would be lower. I think that would make the team overall better. But, you just got what you got. But basically, the most threatening thing I can do really on turn 1 is to Battle Cry. And that's just to give a permanent buff to my Dragoon. So that's why you'll see Berserkers in the midline a lot. And there are a lot of different ways you can go. But the kind of team construction theme that you usually see in light heavyweight is lower level skill-based heroes in the midline, which is what I have going here. So you can just buff your better character because, like we said before, damage only matters on the front character, which is why you want your Berserker buffing your Dragoon instead of being in the front himself.
Well, so that's actually it's funny you say that. I've actually been thinking more and more that a Berserker in the front line could be quite good, right? Because if you look at that Rancor, skill there, deal 2x your damage to enemy front line, and 1/3 of that to yourself. So there is that caveat of you're dealing a lot of damage to yourself. But if you're buffing that Berserker either with his own battle cry or with another buffing type hero in the midline, that Rancor could deal quite a bit of damage for you.
Yeah, Rancor is a really good skill too. But I'm more speaking on kind of a basic theory for team construction here. And then my backline character is a level 10 legendary, so that helps a lot. That's kind of an inflection point where you get all your rarity bonuses. Whereas if I had like a level 8 Berserker and a level 9 Warrior, it would be considerably worse because you don't get that level 10 rarity bonus. So that's just kind of a small minor thing that you can use to construct a better team. Not that it matters too much. But I like this guy in the back because it doesn't do anything early. It's got Cleave, which needs a meter. Last Stand, which needs you to take a lot of damage. And it's got Dark Pact with a Dark Knight sub, which needs a meter. But he's great in the end game if I either switch my Dragoon from front to back or it just dies. And then I can start threatening that Dark Pact. Yeah, and that is a huge self buff. Whereas the Berserker buffs its allies. The Dark Pact from Dark Knight buffs itself. And these can be just game-winning moves by themselves. Boar style or Boar form from Shapeshifter is another big one.
That's a big buff, yeah.
What else is there?
We mentioned the Pirate. We mentioned the Berserker.
The Pirate. The Priest is like a buff your front line as well with the life tap. It's a little bit different. The Plunder is a self buff, so you can either self buff or you can buff other parts of your team. And that's kind of the best thing you can be doing usually in light heavyweight or heavyweight.
Yeah, no, the buffs are definitely a meta right now. One other hero class that I think we should call out specifically because it's very counterintuitive to typical RPGs, and that would be the Paladin, right? So the Paladin is a hero class that the second you hear it, you think frontline tank, right? Frontline tank. That's what it does. In the Fight Club setting, while it can still be a good frontline because of that high HP, the way its moves work make it much more kind of conducive as a midline support hero, right? So we have two moves here. The Mercy, we're not going to touch on that too much because, as I mentioned, the third skill is for pure heroes, so a Paladin. It's a pretty good move though. So first, Chivalry. Heal your other characters for up to 100 HP each and take that much damage. So you're taking that high HP of a Paladin and now you're redistributing that health and kind of using it as a healer, right? So you can do that throughout the match and kind of use your Paladin's HP as kind of a type of currency, right? And what you're setting up for is that second move, Retribution. Deal damage based on how much health you're missing, and that's your Paladin is missing. It costs a meter, but you can set yourself up for it by redistributing that health to your other teammates, right?
Yeah. So in my team formation, if I were to replace the Berserker with a Paladin, I would just be looking to heal instead of buff my front line to keep my front line Dragoon, who does a lot of more damage and has a lot more speed, and has very, skewer that's just ready to kill somebody. Keep him alive as long as possible. And then eventually I'm threatening Retribution as well. So that's how you use kind of a midline support for the Paladin. You can also frontline them and get to Retribution and have it be very potent pretty quickly as well. That's another strategy that also works, but you can use it either way. It's actually, I think it's fine either way.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. So I think what we're kind of getting at, right? We just touched upon a lot of different skills, and I know for a new player, it kind of seems all like gibberish, but as you get the hang of it, there are a lot of options. And we mentioned the kind of metas right now. That's changing every time someone, comes with a new hero class. I think it was Meme Machine that first started using priests back in the day when no one was really using them because we all thought they were too squishy. I'm gonna miss giving people credit here, but the first person that came along with berserkers and that buff strategy, now I was saying earlier, I think thieves and their poison could be kind of big, right? So it's always changing. The more you play around with different heroes, the more fun combinations you're gonna come up with.
Absolutely.
Anything else to add on these, or otherwise I wanted to kind of do a little tease of dungeons, and we'll get into dungeons more on another stream.
Yeah, good here.
All right, cool. I'm gonna take over the stream just because I have an open dungeon that we can kind of look into.
Perfect.
So the way that we go to dungeons, same as everything else, we're gonna go to this Play Here tab. Go into Play. It's going to open that private battle room. And then this time we're going to click Dungeons here on the sidebar, or on the bottom there. The rules for the dungeon are listed here. We're going to be updating these in the docs as well that we mentioned that are linked in the description. But essentially you're going to have a few different floors. It's an endless dungeon. Infinite dungeon is what we call it. So if you complete an objective or essentially get past a floor, you're going to get plus 100. If you open a chest, you're going to get anywhere between 10 and 30, depending on how big of a chest it is. And for each enemy team that you defeat, you're going to get plus 1. Okay? Now, the caveat here, or the thing that we do a little bit differently, we have given some utility to the DFK items. Health vials, full health potions, and stamina potions can all be brought with you, up to 2 of each, into the dungeon. And those are going to be the health vial heals one of your heroes. The full health potion does just that. It heals your whole team back to full health. The stamina potion acts as a revive in the dungeon setting. So, and of course this just timed out. I'm gonna go back here, go into the dungeon. We're gonna continue my current dungeon. And so this is what you see. So my hero is right here in the middle. It's got the blue circle around it. We see what direction the enemy teams are going. And I'm gonna want to get up to here, to that chest. So I'm seeing this guy's in my way, this ninja, but he's moving this way. So I'm gonna click this arrow up. He moved, I moved, good to go. I'm gonna move just back now because I don't want to actually get into a fight. But you see, you can kind of move around. And then I have my inventory down here, my loot. I have right now 10 health vials, 4 full health potions, and 2 Phoenix Downs, which are those revives. Anything to add there, guys? I kind of just wanted to at least show it. I know that we're going to be wrapping pretty quick here, but we'll do something else on dungeons in the future.
Yeah, in terms of strategy, you get used to kind of timing their moves, and you basically just want to fight as few as possible. Because the way the points are distributed, you get 1 point for killing, which is weird. You get 1 point for winning a fight, and you get what is it? How many points for
100
chest?
for. Oh no!
Yeah.
So it's 10 to 30 for a chest, depending on how big of a chest it is.
Okay, and then the big, you just want to get through with avoiding as many fights as possible. And I think the next iteration is going to use the parchment and maps, or sextants and parchments to make maps, so that you can re-roll, because once you get used to it, you can see there are just sometimes you cannot complete the objective without fighting a certain number of bad guys. So if you can re-roll the maps, that's how you get the best scores, if you get good maps where you can avoid fights.
Yeah.
That's the low level kind of strategy. There's not too much more. I mean, there is a lot more, but the way you construct your team and what you do to take as little damage as possible and conserve resources. But
yeah, and so you see here the objective: defeat marked targets, 1 of 3. So I've killed 1 already. There's a green arrow above this ninja's head here, so that would be another marked target. And then there's a green arrow above this guy's head at the top. It's cut off, but that would be the third one there.
So you can avoid, I think that's a paladin that's on the chest above the ninja. Mm-hmm. So you just basically, you'll have to do 2 more fights to complete this level. And you do not want to die with 10 health vials in your inventory.
Well, that's the other thing. I have to make sure that when I do pick this up and start, playing it, and we timed out again, but we don't need that. Right now, my party, I'm at 13 health for my front line,
that's
44 health for mid, and so I might as well just use the full health potion right now, just so I don't forget the next time that I go in.
You'd be very sad to start a fight like that.
Yeah, it wouldn't be good. So I'm going to use that full health potion. Do you want to use it? Okay. And you'll see I'm back to full health over there.
That's going to be a good score.
Yeah, I've been kind of saving it up. As far as the way the scoring works, when you print the high score, it resets the timer and adds crystal into the prize pool. So every time that it resets for a shorter amount of time. The pot gets bigger. There's more incentive to go get that top spot. And I've been saving this run for a little bit, as far as waiting until it's the right time to complete this dungeon run. So there's definitely some gamesmanship as far as that goes. Yeah. So I think that's about it. We went a little bit longer than we wanted to, but it's I hope that this kind of gave everyone kind of a first look or a first thought into Fight Club, into the way the game's played. Bob mentioned he's coming first and second in 2 of the past tournaments. Myself and Guy, we do all right for ourselves too without any actual tournament wins. So we're coming from a place of experience, and hopefully some of that was interesting. Any closing thoughts from you guys?
Yeah, the more people that join the ecosystem here, the more people that join Fight Club. That's really what we're trying to do here is just get people more involved, because the tournaments and the player dynamics and creating the new metas together is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was just kind of thinking there's just so much more we could talk about on basically every subject. I was kind of editing myself to just not go on tangents, but with minimal success. I know, because this is just exciting to talk about. But I say for new players, figure out what weight class you want to play. Pick 3 heroes that give you the most total kind of levels that you can play in that weight class, and just kind of experiment. Kind of put a big guy up front, a good skill in the middle, and a good backup. Just combination of meter skills and speed in the back, and just kind of go through and learn the skills for free, just playing against the AI. That's just the best thing you can do to start.
Yeah.
And then move on from there, as slowly or as quickly as you can.
Yeah, and I was just going to add, ask questions if there's anything that you don't know. We have a great group. A lot of the people who are in the chat tonight, shout out to AP. He recently wrote an article on the ADFK blog that I should add to the description about his strategy with Fight Club. So there's some good resources there, but everyone's always willing to help and wanting to grow the game's community, right? So the more the merrier, the more fun we have for those tournaments. Great. So I think we're gonna wrap it up there. Thank you guys for joining, and we'll see you in the arena.
See y'all.
Later, dudes.